Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video, this time around for Tales from the Borderlands for the PlayStation 4, also available in other systems like the Xbox One, PC and whatnot, but the PS4 version is the one that I played because there was a pretty damn good sale a couple months ago where they were selling the season pass for $5. And even though I knew beforehand there is a physical retail version coming out for $30, the price difference, it was way too big. You know, the digital version was on sale for $5. I couldn't say no, so I decided to pull the trigger. Even though I prefer physical versions of games, it was way too cheap to say no. So I decided to buy it and give it a shot because I enjoy these visual adventure types of games, especially the ones made by Telltale. I think they're pretty high quality. They usually have a pretty good voice acting and everything like that. So decided to pull the trigger based on the pretty affordable price and also on the very positive impressions that this game received from other people here on YouTube that I follow. They were very pleasantly surprised by how good this game was, by how fun the story of the game was, and I have to agree 100%. This is one of the most enjoyable visual adventure Telltale games that I played in recent memory. So highly recommended, guys. Even if you guys have not played any of the Borderlands games, even if you have no past experience with any of the Borderlands games, this is perfectly fine as a standalone piece. But there are some characters from previous Borderlands games that make an appearance, and there is a pretty big, I guess, spoiler. So if you guys are thinking into getting your feet wet in the Borderlands series, I guess it's probably recommended that you play the Borderlands games first. But at the same time, keep in mind that those games are very lengthy. You know, they take 20 hours each, so you have to play the prequel, then Borderlands 1 and 2, and then Tales from the Borderlands. So at the end of the day, I'd say just do whatever you feel most comfortable with. My previous experience with the Borderlands games rely on just basically one game, Borderlands 2, which at one point it was a PlayStation Plus game. It was given away for free, so I downloaded it and I played, and I put a decent amount of hours, but not enough to cause a significant dent as far as me becoming a fan of the series. I put maybe 5 to 10 hours, somewhere in that range. And I was having fun, but I got sidetracked really quick. The nature of the Borderlands games themselves is, there's a lot of looting. Your weapons are constantly changing because you keep finding newer and better weapons. And it wasn't for me quite that much. But again, that's my only previous experience, Borderlands 2, and then I played Tales from the Borderlands. So highly recommended, even if you don't have any previous experience. The story, it's very interesting in this game. There are basically two main characters. You have Riz, which is, he works for the Hyperion Corporation, and he's basically tricked out of becoming one of the higher executives in the company. So he goes on this quest. He gets sent to Pandora, which is like this wasteland of a planet in which he gets into trouble there. And once he gets down in Pandora, that's where you I guess meet Fiona, which is the other main protagonist of the game. She's a female protagonist, and there are two separate stories at the beginning that they end up intertwining, and they ended up meeting. And the game is just told very, very well, because the game starts with the two of them walking with this very mysterious character that has kidnapped both of you, and both Riz and Fiona tell the story to this character that he has a mask. You don't know his identity, and they keep telling their story. And so as they're telling this story, that's how you go back into the chapter. So it's kind of like the past. You're basically telling them the past, and of course everything builds up, and towards the end of the game, towards a later episode, you catch up to the present time, which is when Fiona and Riz are captured, and then the identity of this person is unveiled, and the story progresses that way. So a very clever, very well structured storytelling in the game, which I really appreciated. The characters are very, very likable in this game. There are a ton of characters. I'm not going to mention all of them because I'm going to spoil them, obviously, and I'm not going to do any spoilers for this particular video. But other than say that it's a very, very enjoyable game. but it does suffer from the typical Telltale issue, which is your options. They matter to some extent, but they're not pretty big in the broader sense of the game. The game has a beginning and an end that is pretty much fixed, no matter what you choose. And in that regard, the Telltale games are like that for most of the part. There are decisions that you make here and there that you may have a character dislike you in the storyline, one of the characters, or you may get closer to one character. You may become a closer friend to certain characters. But my approach in the game, I was trying to keep friends with everybody, it was kind of tough because sometimes the game puts you in a situation where you have to kind of like help one character over the other. But at the same time, later in the game, there are parts where you can redeem. Like if you screwed one character over, you can kind of try and become his friend and regain his confidence. So it's pretty cool. You can strike a balance between all of the characters that you meet throughout the game. And towards the end of one of the chapters, your behavior with all the characters in the game, it does matter, because you have to assemble a team towards the end of the game. And the better you do with as far as relationships, it means the more support you're going to have towards the end of the game. Maybe minor spoilers there, but not a big deal in my opinion. So I thought that was a pretty cool game mechanic. There's also a couple of cool things as far as the gameplay. Whenever you play as Reese, he's somewhat of a cyborg. He has like a robot eye where you can use it to scan things, kind of like the Metroid Prime games. You can scan the environment for hints. To be honest, I didn't really use that functionality that much unless it was required to use. There are some parts in the game where you must use that scanning ability, but I thought it was cool, something a little bit different from the typical Telltale games. And the rest of the gameplay just basically involves you walking around, interacting with the environment, interacting with the characters, and of course, as the game progresses, there are a lot of quick time events which are pretty hard to fail. I found them to be pretty easy for the most part. It's pretty lenient as far as the timing, and some of them, even though you fail them for one time, you still have more chances before you can finally screw everything up. So pretty lenient as far as the quick time events in this game. And as far as the decision making, the game does put you in the spot sometimes, kind of like the Walking Dead game, where you have to make either 2 or more decisions. More often than not, it's 4 decisions, and you have the 4 face buttons in your PlayStation 4 controller, and you have to press which one you want to make the decision. That's one of the negative things in the game, because they give you very little time. Me personally, I played with the subtitles on, so I like to use both the audio and the visual aid. Maybe because my English is not my native language, I don't know why, but I like to play with subtitles on, so that way I can back whatever I hear, whatever audio comes out from the TV, I can back up by having the subtitles on. And sometimes the subtitle text is pretty long, and the prompts to make the decision are already in there, and there's a timer where you have to hurry up and make your decision by pushing one of the face buttons. And I found myself a lot of the times unable to completely finish reading my sentence, and I found myself struggling finishing to reading the sentence and then reading every single option that you have in place. So it would have been nice if the game gave you a little bit more time to think through and to read through the answers. But those moments in the game were very scattered, very far in between, nothing major. So that's one of the negative things that I found in this game. A huge positive in this game is the performance improvement over other Telltale games that I played. Specifically the Walking Dead games, they suffer from stuttering, frame rate issues where the game basically looks like a PowerPoint slide, especially when you make a decision and the game is trying to think through what's going to happen next. Those games came to a crawl as far as performance. Tales from the Borderlands, I don't know if it's because it's a PS4 version, so it's faster and there's more processing power. I don't know what the reasoning is, or I don't know if Telltale finally heard the complaints from fans, but the performance has been vastly improved for this game. Mind you, it's not perfect. There are still some hiccups here and there. going from one scene to another, especially when you make a decision. But the frame rate drops and the stuttering have been reduced significantly when compared to other Telltale games, which is a huge plus and a huge improvement overall. Again, the characters were very likable. If you have played previous Borderlands games, you know what to expect in terms of the aesthetics of the game. The graphics are, cel shaded. They have that particular Borderlands look from previous games. The environments have that. It feels like you're in a. If you guys have played Borderlands games before, you're basically in that same universe. Everything is torn down. It has these almost like Mad Max type of look, modern futuristic Mad Max setting that it's pretty unique to the Borderlands universe, and this game does a beautiful job of recreating that in a different gameplay aspect, obviously, because the other Borderlands games are first-person shooter type of games, and this one is obviously a visual adventure game. So a fantastic job of recreating that Borderlands universe, and a fantastic job in the characters overall. The sense of humor, the voice acting, the script in this game is just absolutely fantastic. I was pleasantly surprised. There are characters that are non-human. Obviously, there are some robots, like the loader bot character, and then you have Gortys, which is some very cute characters, very well acted voice acting, and overall there is a pretty good sense of companionship throughout the game between the characters that really immerse you in the game, and that's one of the strengths of the game. Just a very solid story writing, a very solid line of characters, and a very solid game design and progression throughout the game. So Tales from the Borderlands, highly recommended, guys. If you can find it on sale, or even not for sale, even for its regular price. I'm not really sure how much the game is. I think it goes for like $25 for all 5 episodes. So highly recommended. Just pay whatever price if you're mildly interested in this game. I highly recommend that you give it a shot, because it's another fantastic Telltale game. So that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.